Gazzetta Football Italia, Q titles. Hi there. Well, it's been a very, very tense week this week, obviously because we've got Milan coming up, but there's more about that later. First this.
Coming up, a 7-goal thriller between Juventus and relegation-threatened Napoli. James Richardson with all the news from behind the week's headlines. Your chance to see every one of last weekend's goals. We're giving away a shirt signed by all the Milan superstars in this week's competition. There's the midweek Italian Cup action, Torino against Juventus, and Roma's sensational victory over Milan. Paul Gascoigne takes us through his week and looks ahead to tomorrow's vital clash with the champions. And James Richardson talks to the big names who'll be featuring in that live game, Lazio against Milan, and gets the views of one of Italian soccer's most outspoken figures, the ex-Lazio superstar Giorgio Chinaglia.
Well, one of the games of the week has been Napoli away to Juventus. No one to give Napoli a chance at the moment, especially at Juventus, because of the way they've been playing. But it turned out to be one of the best games of the week. And here are some of the highlights.
A volatile atmosphere abounds for this meeting between two teams with still much to prove this season. England's David Platt wears the number 8 shirt in the Juventus side. The big surprise, though, is the omission of Gianluca Vialli, apparently rested before Tuesday's Italian Cup semi-final with Torino. With Casiraghi also missing today through injury, Fabrizio Ravanelli starts a Serie A match for the first time. Andreas Möller, the German international, returns after being dropped last week. Julio Cesar, who's only just recovered from a broken leg, now loses his place through influenza. Well, Napoli's form has certainly improved since the change of coach back in November. Ottavio Bianchi's second spell in charge is having a steadying effect after Napoli's early season traumas. The acquisition of Roma's experienced defender Sabino Naylor has been a key factor, along with the return to form of Jonas Tern and Gianfranco Zola in midfield. Napoli then to kick off, attacking the goal to our left in the light blue shirts. Juventus, of course, in their famous black and white. Two teams who at the start of the season had such high title aspirations, but they really haven't materialised. An unacceptable situation for now Ravanelli. Couldn't hold off though the challenge from Naylor. Platt threads it on. Jurgen Kohler again well forward here. And Di Canio is onside. That scores! 9 minutes gone, and it's Paolo Di Canio who gives Juventus the lead. Jurgen Kohler, the German international defender, very prominent in the build-up. And Di Canio tucking away his shot. There's the pass from Kohler. There was no... Now Ravanelli, hoping to make the most of this fairly rare opportunity in the starting lineup. He's done well there too. Yet Conte denied. Di Canio, Möller, good build-up here again by Juventus. Came off Naylor in the end. And the Napoli goal under siege at the moment. Di Canio playing with a lot of confidence and rewarded with that early goal. Now Andy Möller really lived up to take this corner kick then for Juventus. And the header from Platt, and it's 2. Glorious header then from the England midfield man. That's only his second 2 in Serie A this season. Well, maybe the Napoli defenders felt there was some pushing. The referee didn't think so, not in Platt, certainly. He was asking no questions, just tucking away that delightful header. Really powerful finish by Platt, beyond galley. The second goal on 16 minutes to establish Juve's command. Turn. Cagliari linking with Correca. A great pass through to Fonseca. Oh, it's scooped over the bar by Correca. That was a dreadful miss. Real frustration for Napoli, who thought they'd created a goal then. Excellent approach play. Fonseca now. Peruzzi makes the save, and Correca, of all people, spoons it over the bar. Zola picking out Cagliari, and he got away too from Dino Baggio. There's danger here. Now Zola, cracking goal. 6 minutes into the second half, and Gianfranco Zola has pulled one back for Napoli. Spanking drive, Peruzzi no chance. Trapattoni's team still with plenty to worry about. And certainly the president of Juve has been very upset at their form, and has been on the telephone, Gianni Agnelli, to Trapattoni, to vent his anger, which he hopes he'll pass on to the players, he says. Maybe he has. Conte, Torricelli. Good work then by Conte. Merla striding away. Now Baggio. Could be something on for Juve here. Baggio, who relishes this kind of situation, and denied then by the post. The danger hasn't passed. Ravanelli. And he's just taken it too far. But Roberto Baggio so unlucky. 6 goals in his last 7 games since returning from injury. Wriggling past the tackles. And back off the post. Here's Turn. On by Crippa to Zola. Menacing figure, Zola, when he's in the mood. Crippa. Cagliari. Turned back into Ravanelli. There's Jonas Turn. Well, he seems determined to score today, Jonas Turn. Excellent effort in the first. And this fellow's been playing well too, Zola. And a goal! It's 2-2. Ferrara. The captain has struck for Napoli. 71 minutes gone. And for being 2 down, Napoli have staged here an outstanding recovery. What a finish then from Ferrara. Peruzzi motionless in his 6-yard box. And once again, it's the turn of those Napoli fans to celebrate. Juventus have squandered a 2-goal lead. Marocchi on for Ravanelli. Not for long, they haven't. They're back in front, 3-2. And as he sets off on his celebration run, he'll be in trouble when he comes back with the referee. But for the moment, he is relishing the goal that has put Juventus back in front. Marocchi's pass there. Appeals for offside are in vain. And Ravanelli finishes clinically off the legs, though, of Galli. A really pulsating game we have now, though. 2 goals in a minute. What another scything tackle by Ferrara. And, well, he could be sent off here. He's had 1 yellow card, and indeed it is a red card now. And Ferrara has been dismissed. The protests of Naylor will fall on deaf ears. Referee Batin has sent off Ciro Ferrara, the captain of Napoli. I think Baggio made the most of it. Here's Fonseca. Zola marauding. Down goes Zola. It's a penalty. The tackle by Carrera. And the referee has pointed to the spot. And just look there at the fury of those Juventus defenders. I must say my first reaction is that that was a clean tackle. Well, did he make contact with the ball or with the leg of Zola? Here's Fonseca, the referee against Peruzzi. It's 3-3. Fonseca breaks his barren spell. And Napoli back on level terms. Sending Peruzzi the wrong way. For Conte. Well read though by Naylor. Now Bresciani. Good foot tackle though by Torricelli. Off goes to Canio. There's Merla sprinting through the middle. This is Merla now, and Torricelli there too, but it's Merla with the shot, and Merla with the goal. What a finale in Turin. 4-3 Juventus. And it's Merla with just less than 2 minutes to go. And scenes of wild jubilation now among the Juve players. Slip through into the path of Merla. Torricelli was lurking too. And Galli electing to try to save feet first. Merla, his pace there taking him through. And a tidy finish. Corradini. Roberto Baggio just hoping to send another Napoli attack in motion. There's no time. A dramatic match, high on entertainment and controversy too.
All the rest of the weekend goal action to come. But first, James Richardson with his weekly look behind the headlines.
Good morning from a Rome still reeling from all the celebrations we've had this week after Roma's extraordinary win over Milan in the Coppa Italia on Wednesday night. All the papers on Thursday mornings, as you'd imagine, more than excited about the result. See if you can work out which one's printed here in Rome. Tuttosport, Milan falls. Gazzetta dello Sport, Milan's first knockout. Corriere dello Sport, Milan knocked out mythical Roma. Well, Corriere, in fact, so taken by the whole event that they went and awarded, in an unprecedented move, the entire Roma squad 8 out of 10 for their performance in the game. An extraordinary performance which was all the more remarkable, in fact, because of all the problems that the club's having at the moment. Their owner, Giuseppe Ciarapico, is currently in trouble with both the law and the Italian Football Federation, to whom he still owes £7.5 million. Now, after watching Cagliari score an equaliser against his Roma on Sunday, Ciarapico declared he had heart problems and left the stadium and went off to the local clinic. The clinic ruled out any heart attack, but whatever it was that Ciarapico had, he had a relapse of it apparently 2 days later when he received the verdict in the first of his 2 current major fraud cases. The sentence he received was 2.5 years. Ciarapico is appealing, in the legal sense of the word anyway, but will almost certainly have to step down as Roma's president. Now, what is curious about all this is that when the legal investigators sent along their own doctor to check up on Ciarapico, they could find no evidence of any illness at all. In fact, there have been a great deal of articles written this week suggesting that his whole illness is nothing more than a ruse to avoid his upcoming legal problems. It certainly sounds cynical enough, but then we were all surprised by Ciarapico's miracle recovery on Wednesday night when he left the clinic to go down to the celebrations at the Stadio Olimpico, forgetting even to change on the way. As the Gazzetta commented, Ciarapico party in his pyjamas. "I'm just too excited to stay away," he said, which is certainly healthy enough justification from a man who's meant to be suffering from a heart condition. Well, anyway, Milan will be back at the Stadio Olimpico tomorrow, taking on this time Lazio and trying to keep alive their Serie A unbeaten streak, which currently stands at 57 games. More about that encounter later from Paul Gascoigne, and also in our special preview of the game at the end of the show. For now, more news, and Juventus, Corriere dello Sport on Sunday morning. Finimondo Juve, the headline. Juventus in a big mess. Unheard of events going on up at the Centro Seasport Fiat, the Juventus training ground just outside of Torino. 50 or so fans of the Drughi group of ultras smashed their way into the training ground, breaking windows and wrecking the bar as they searched for the players. The police intervened before they could reach them, but not before some nasty exchanges with the local journalists. Juventus may have avoided that battle, but they were soon involved in another, as we've just seen in those highlights, that hard-fought 4-3 win over Napoli. David Platt, of course, the scorer of the second goal for Juventus, and his performance earned praise from nearly all the Italian papers, apart, that is, from Turin's Tuttosport. Platt, they reckon, came from nothing, scored his goal, and went back to nothing. Platt's football as a metaphor for life. Well, Platt was back in the headlines on Thursday, heading not so much to nothing, but in fact to Sampdoria, reckon the papers. Here it is in Tuttosport. Samp asked for Platt. Corriere dello Sport agree. They reckon that Platt is ready to do his bags and leave, and Samp is the future, they reckon. £5.5 million, apparently, the price to transfer Platt to Trevor Francis's old club. Well, you may remember hearing stories a couple of weeks ago that Platt was due to be heading off to Parma. However, according to Tuttosport this week, Parma now have different ideas on the subject. According to Tuttosport, they're now on the tracks of the English bomber Wright. What they're proposing is a £6.5 million deal, which would be a record for a transfer between England and Italy, for the English bomber. It's a small article at the moment, but then that's how they all start. That's all the news anyway we've got time for right now. Coming up after the break, we'll have our usual chat with Paul Gascoigne, look at the Coppa Italia action, of course, from midweek, our Serie A goals from last weekend's action, and, of course, our competition. So see you then.
Welcome back. An autographed Milan shirt to be won in our competition. But first, a roundup of Serie A goal action from Peter Bradley.
Massimo Agostini's overhead kick for Ancona against Genoa proved the highlight of a disappointing relegation battle on the Adriatic coast. 7 of Ancona's players on view were recovering from flu and were under the influence of antibiotics. Genoa, on the other hand, could offer no genuine excuse for their poor display. Genoa's penalty appeals were turned down in the second half. Mazzarano's use of an arm from Scuravi's volley ruled unintentional. Caccia then tested the reflexes of Tacconi in the Genoa goal. Genoa are under the guidance of their third coach this term, following the dismissal of Gigi Maifredi. Claudio Maselli has his work cut out saving Genoa from relegation. Genoa haven't won away for over a year. The fixture between Atalanta and Inter in all white began with controversy when Fontelan appeared to be brought down by Ferron, but the referee waved play on, this as early as the 4th minute. Both clubs were without key players, notably Gats for Atalanta and Ruben Sosa for Inter. They were both suspended. The tight first half ended with Ferron's block from De Agostini's free kick. On the hour mark, Toto Schillaci had his first worthwhile effort of the match. But it was the home side who opened the scoring 5 minutes later. Valentini's shot deflected off the back of Giuseppe Bergomi to leave Zenga struggling on his line. But Inter equalised almost immediately. Antonio Maniconi scoring his first goal for Inter since his arrival in November. The former Udinese midfielder again showing there's more to his game than his reputation might suggest. Inter are unbeaten in 1993. The Colombian Ivan Valenciano and then Perrone endeavour to bring their run to an end with long-range shooting. It ended level. Inter have failed to win in Bergamo now for 14 years. Next to Foggia in the striped shirts, who were at home to fellow strugglers Brescia. Both clubs were in need of a victory to boost their hopes of survival in the top flight. Brescia have scored a mere 6 goals on their travels this season. They almost made it 7. But Sabal's effort was ruled out for dangerous play by the number 5 Paganin. Coming up, Foggia's best chance of the half, Brian Roy denied by Landucci. Brescia should have gone ahead when the Romanian Sabal failed to take advantage of Mancini's error. Foggia were then reduced to 10 men after Bianchini's despairing lunge on Radu Chau earned the centre-back his second red card in consecutive matches. The replay leaves little doubt that the incident took place outside the penalty box. From the resulting free kick, Hagi's drive flashed past the far post. In the second half, Kolivanov's corner almost produced a goal. Di Baggio then failed to keep down his volley. Foggia were unable to set their rapid passing game in motion. The match ended goalless. Foggia haven't won in Serie A for 5 matches. All-conquering Milan faced Fiorentina at the San Siro. Paolo Maldini twice threatened the Fiorentina goal from set pieces early in the game. But the champions were fortunate not to concede a goal after 15 minutes. Milan given a taste of their own medicine as their defence was placed under pressure. Batistuta was eventually denied by Rossi's right boot. Fiorentina seemed determined to avenge their 7-3 thrashing by Milan in October. Carnasciali's shot again forced Rossi into making a save. Eranio replaced the injured Tassotti and was soon making his presence felt. Dejan Savicevic also had a point to prove. His contribution to the match would later be decisive. Fiorentina continued their search for a goal in the second half. Rossi foiled Batistuta before Brian Laudrup dragged his shot wide. Orlando's challenge forced Donadoni to leave the contest. And seconds later, Lupi's obvious foul on Savicevic went unpunished. But Savicevic wasn't to be denied a goal. The Montenegrin losing his marker Lupi to score a la Papan on 66 minutes. Here is the Frenchman now, cynically brought down by Facenda, who was sent off for the foul. Even with 10 men, the away side ploughed forward. Batistuta unfortunate to see his goal ruled out for offside. The Argentinian was in an onside position when the ball was played. Orlando wasn't. 2 minutes from full time, Savicevic rounded off a fine display with an outstanding solo goal to seal Milan's victory. The former Yugoslav international has now scored 4 goals in 6 Serie A appearances. Milan's unbeaten run in Serie A stretching now to 57 matches.
Well, now it's competition time here on Gazzetta Football Italia, and your chance to win a trip to the Italian Cup final and the Milan shirt autographed by their star players. Just answer a simple question by ringing us on 0891 333 444. Our live game on Channel 4 tomorrow features Paul Gascoigne's Lazio against the reigning champions and the title favourites, Milan. Now, when the sides met at San Siro in October, Milan came out on top, but both sides gave a real exhibition of attacking football. So what was the final score? Was it A, 4-2, B, 5-3, or C, 6-4? When you've made your choice, ring us on 0891 333 444. The first correct caller picked out by our computer when the lines close next Thursday goes into a winner's draw for a trip for 2 to the Italian Cup final in June. They'll also win this Milan shirt, specially autographed by their star players. 5 lucky runners-up win copies of the new second edition of our Football Italia magazine. In Gazzetta last week, we asked you to name the Arsenal forward who once played for Cremonese. That man was Anders Limpar. These 3 lucky winners go into a draw for a trip for 2 to the Italian Cup final, and each gets a pair of tickets for the Anglo-Italian Cup final at Wembley on March the 27th. And these 5 runners-up get copies of our new Football Italia magazine and the latest fanzines. Finally, remember, you can get full details of all our competitions by turning to page 365 of Fortel, Channel 4's teletext service. It was semi-final week in the Coppa Italia, but football fans in Turin didn't seem overexcited, even at the prospect of a local derby. The 70,000 capacity Della Alpi Stadium was half filled for the clash of Torino and Juventus. David Platt was happy though, chosen again in a defensive midfield role as Juventus had to cope without the suspended German internationals Andy Müller and Jürgen Kohler. Torino came closest in the first half, Walter Casagrande nearly benefiting from a terrible mix-up in the Juve box following Sergio's cross. Torricelli on hand to clear off the line. Juventus, despite playing on the ground they share with Torino, had treated this tie as a genuine away match. But their first real attack brought a goal 3 minutes into the second half. A quick free kick found De Marchi and the fullback was hauled down by Sergio. Although he's missed 2 penalties recently in the league, Roberto Baggio was confident enough to take the spot kick, and he scored with a perfectly placed shot. Torino went for all-out attack, and Aguilera came close, Torricelli clearing off the line for a second time. But it took a substitution to do the trick. Poggi, who scored against Sampdoria at the weekend, came on for defender Sergio, and 11 minutes from time, he grabbed the equaliser. It was Casagrande who flicked a header on, and Poggi was on hand to beat Peruzzi. 1-1 then the final score, and Juventus will be pleased to have got that vital away goal to carry into the second leg on March the 31st. So who will the winners meet in the two-legged final in June? Well, no one would have predicted anything else than a clash with Milan, unbeaten in 57 Serie A games and whose last defeat in a competitive match was back in the Italian Cup semi-final last April. But Wednesday night's opponents, Roma, had different thoughts, especially when they found that Milan were minus so many big names, including Rijkaard, Savicevic, Tassotti, and the long-term absentee Van Basten. Milan also had to throw in 19-year-old goalkeeper Carlo Cudicini for his debut, and this son of a former Roma and Milan hero was quickly shown what a tough old world it is, conceding the opening goal inside 10 minutes. Some measured Roma approach work ended with Piacentini slinging over a deep cross for Roberto Muzzi to head home. Muzzi, playing only because Riccitelli was down with flu, made the most of his chance. But where was the renowned Milan defence? Cudicini was left completely exposed and stood no chance, but he didn't let it unnerve him. Into the second half now, and Hessler might have increased Roma's lead, but for the agility of Cudicini. Then the quick reflexes of Gambara stopped Bonacina from following up. Milan were desperate to keep their unbeaten record, and it looked odds on an equaliser when Massaro burst through. But Cervone saved superbly at the feet of the onrushing Lentini. It was to prove a fatal miss, for in the dying seconds, Roma broke away to clinch an historic victory. Caniggia sprinted from inside his own half and, faced only with the young goalkeeper, calmly chipped the ball into the net. So Milan's great run, stretching back to April the 14th, 1992, is over. But although this was Roma's night, and they deserved their moments of joy, they still have to repeat the performance at the San Siro in a fortnight. It should be quite a game. Well, it's Lazio who face Milan next, so what did Paul Gascoigne make of it? Let's hear his verdict and the rest of his week's news.
Well, I've got one of my long-lost friends over to see us this week, John Coleman. He's come over, you know, he's a good lad, and it's been nice to see him. I haven't seen him for a while. And not only that, he had one glance at the swim pool, and we decided to take his hair off a little bit and make him look a little bit like Goodyew, because he said he's a good swimmer, and decided to give him a lollipop because he wants to walk around looking like Telly Savalas. And as you can see, he's really missing his family. Well, given the red card the other week, I had the chance to nip over to London for a couple of tears. Seen Cheryl, seen Mason, and had the chance to ring up the Tottenham lads, and it was good to see about 5 or 6, well, about 7 of them come over and see us, you know, come to the fish, and we shared a couple of lagers together, and it was good to see them. The spirit of the Tottenham lads, fantastic. Obviously because of the cup win they just had. It looks like they're back where they are as well, 2 years ago, playing against Arsenal. But it was good to see the lads, and yeah, I'm back, ready to start work again. I don't know if you know this week, but we've got a very hard match on our hands. We're up against the champions Milan. I don't know if you've seen the match the last time that was live on TV. Milan are a very, very strong side. I found it quite difficult to play against them. I didn't have one of my better games, but the thing I did find hard about them is the way they pressurise you when you get the ball. You know, as soon as one gets the ball, there's about 3 around you. When you knock it off, there's a 3 around them. So it's going to be a very, very tough match this weekend, and I can only hope that the way we have been playing, apart from last week, but the spirit's still there amongst the camp, and we can put a good performance on, and hope we get the result we want.
This guy is the baldiest man in Italian football. Palacio, grande.
Well, you know, I've been around the city the last couple of days, and the atmosphere around there seems to be buzzing again. You can hear them talking from miles away, just yapping, you know. And I think the thing was with Lazio, we were up in the top 3, while Rome were down at the bottom, and everyone just seemed to be happy and content with that. We've dropped a few points. Roma haven't been beaten for a few games, and they've climbed up. Now they're only 3 points behind. Not only that, they beat Milan on Wednesday, 2-0, and now the atmosphere is really starting to build up. You can hear it, and the pressure's back on Lazio, I think, to get the result against Milan on Sunday, because if we don't, then I think there could be riots.
Welcome back. Our Lazio versus Milan special coming up. But first, let's complete the goal action from Serie A.
Lazio in yellow visited Parma without the suspended Paul Gascoigne. But it's always a difficult fixture. Parma have been defeated only once at their Tardini stadium. Alessandro Melli gave the cup holders a 15th minute lead. Melli, surrounded by at least 3 Lazio defenders, still managed to convert Osio's cross. A side which includes leading marksman Giuseppe Signori is always in with a chance, but he made it easy here for Ballotta on this occasion. Early in the second half, Benarivo combined with Aspria before he was brought down by Orsi. Penalty to Parma. The Lazio goalkeeper isn't having the best of times following his poor display in Genoa last week, but Melli spared his blushes from the penalty spot. Melli continued to cause panic in Lazio's defence as Quaggi's attempt on goal was parried by Orsi. Here's Gazza's replacement, Thomas Doll, setting up Diego Fuser, but he squandered a glorious chance to equalise. Luzardi was no match for the Colombian Aspria, and the defender was red-carded for the second time this season. Parma then extended their lead on 76 minutes. Alessandro Melli with a goal to savour. Melli providing the perfect answer to coach Scala, who had excluded the striker from the midweek cup tie in Prague. Lazio did pull a goal back through their captain Roberto Crivero 2 minutes from time. But it was a case of too little too late for Dino's offside. Parma moved to within 2 points of Lazio, who dropped 1 place to 4th. Only a victory would suffice for the bottom club Pescara in their home fixture against Udinese in the black and white stripes. Some stern defending from the away side contained Pescara early on. Udinese replied with Desideri's strike from long range. And on 26 minutes, Udinese opened the scoring. A sweeping 3-man move involving Mariotto and Mate, culminating in the simplest of tap-ins for Balbo. Goal number 19 this season for him. Balbo really is the scourge of Pescara. The striker has scored 9 times in his 5 games against them since his arrival in Italy. The Italian citizen aimed to make it 10, but was perhaps a little overconfident this time. The Pole Kosminski put Udinese 2 up 5 minutes before half-time. This is his first goal since moving from his native Poland. Pescara received a lifeline on the stroke of half-time when Allegri was on hand to score his 6th goal of the season. Even though Pescara's destiny appears to lie in the form of Serie B, Allegri continues to sparkle in front of the watchful eyes of Serie A's elite. It was all one way in the second half as Pescara laid siege on Udinese's goal in search of an equaliser. After Campagno had missed the target, Borgonovo and Massara combined to set up club captain Carlos Dunga, who demonstrates how it should be done. The Brazilian's second goal of the season came just short of the hour mark, leaving more than enough time for the winner. But try as they may, Pescara failed to capture the 2 precious points. Allegri going close here. Then Allegri again providing a pinpoint pass for the head of Bevi. Campagno's juggling act and cross found Borgonovo's head. Di Sarno's fingertips denied him a goal. The last opportunity of the match fell to Allegri. Not even the impressive midfielder, though, could alter the scoreline. 2-2 it finished. Pescara left kicking themselves. Cagliari in white visited the Olympic Stadium for the 2nd time in a month, this time to face a resurgent Roma. Cagliari defeated Lazio 2-1 on their last visit. And clearly, they relish their trips to the capital. But the World Cup winner Thomas Hassler was in inspirational form, just lacking the power to trouble Yelpo here. Hassler popped up all over the field and after 27 minutes began the move which led to Roma's opening goal. Giuseppe Giannini scoring a contender for goal of the week. The Roma captain now has 7 goals for the season, a total he last reached 5 terms ago. Cagliari's main hopes for a goal, it seems, rested with the left boot of Pescara, but Roma went into the interval a goal up. Well, now for the incident which changed the course of the game. The Serb Mihailovic sent off for elbowing Capioli from behind. Capioli quickly recovered though from his blow to the head, starting and finishing the move to bring Cagliari back into the match. Capioli's 5th goal of the season was sweet revenge. Cagliari's leading scorer was discarded by Roma 5 years ago. The Sardinians were unfortunate not to be awarded a penalty after Piacentini's reckless challenge on Pescara. Roma had their own appeals waved away by the referee. Festa's tackle on Muzzi was clearly outside the penalty box. Giannini's pass then released Muzzi, who spurned Roma's final chance of the game. Cagliari's Brazilian striker Luis Oliveira took a leaf out of Muzzi's manual on how to miss the target from close range. Cagliari failed to complete the double over Roma then, who are undefeated now in their last 7 Serie A matches. Cagliari haven't beaten Roma in the Eternal City for a quarter of a century. And finally to Sampdoria's home fixture against informed Torino, unbeaten in their last 4 league matches. Sampdoria deprived of the services of Roberto Mancini, and how significant that would be as regards the final outcome. Schifo extended Pagliuca before the game's most controversial incident. Lombardo's slight tug of Aloisi's jersey was enough to convince the referee an offence had taken place and he disallowed the goal. As Lombardo turns the Torino defender, watch out for his left hand. That pull denying the Italian international his 3rd goal of the season. Enrico Chiesa was asked to fill the boots of flu victim Mancini. It seems he put the wrong pair on. Another youngster, Renato Busso, has been given an extended run in the first team. His turn and shot forcing Marchegiani into a save. Sampdoria kept up the pressure in the second half. This time the Serb Vladimir Jugovic misses the target. Sampdoria's inability to play the offside trap has regularly provided their opponents with goals, but not on this occasion. Poggi, the culprit of that miss, made amends 18 minutes from time. Aguilera's first effort rebounding off an upright for the former Venezia striker to calmly ease Torino ahead. Des Walker perhaps should have been tighter on Aguilera. Even so, Sampdoria were once again desperately short of manpower at the back. Jugovic then brought the best out of Marchegiani from the free kick. The goalkeeper did well to thwart Lana from the rebound. All eyes were on the linesman in Torino's next attack. Torino's forwards at the bottom of your picture quite rightly point to Des Walker, who played Sergio onside. Pagliuca denies the left back, and this before moving upfield as Sampdoria headed for their 3rd home defeat of the season. Sampdoria failed to score in Genoa for the first time this term. Torino climbed to 3rd place in Serie A.
So Milan now 11 points clear, and just 14 points from their last 12 games will ensure that they retain the title. Only Torino and Juventus of the chasing pack did themselves any favours last weekend. The bottom 7 remain unchanged, so some vital games between them this weekend. Genoa and Foggia meet, Pescara visit Fiorentina, and 11th, week 12, when Udinese travel to Napoli. At the top, Torino entertain Atalanta, while Inter face a Roma team boosted by that midweek cup. But how much will that cup defeat have affected Milan when they face Lazio? Well, whatever happens, we should see some goals, with Serie A joint top scorer Beppe Signori and the informed Jean-Pierre Papin in action. James Richardson previews that game, which we'll be showing tomorrow.
The magnificent structure behind me is the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, where half the city's football fans celebrated on Wednesday night the impossible, Roma's 2-0 win over Milan. Well, tomorrow afternoon, Milan will be back here again, facing Lazio this time, and the Laziali will be hoping it'll be their turn to celebrate. It's a difficult match at the best of times, but Lazio must face it after a defeat against Parma that's left them without 3 of their key players. How much chance do they have? Well, let's start our investigations with the help of a man called Long John. Giorgio Long John Chinaglia, in fact, who we met at his club on the banks of the Tiber, the Circolo Canottieri. Chinaglia is both an ex-captain and an ex-president of Lazio, from 82 to 86 in fact, an unusual enough claim for an ex-member of Cardiff's youth team. Chinaglia grew up in Wales, and it was his sail from Cardiff to Swansea in the 50s that started off an extraordinary career.
I was picked in the youth team of Cardiff, and then Swansea signed me on as an apprentice professional. I stayed there for 4 years. Things didn't turn out too well for them. For me, they did. And I came back to Italy. My father wanted me to come back to Italy. I did. And it was my fortune. I ended up playing for Lazio and going to the national team, then going to the Cosmos, and then become president of Lazio.
Chinaglia now enjoys the view from outside the club. He works for Italian TV station Tele Monte Carlo, presenting and commentating on, amongst other things, English football. He also writes for Rome's Messaggero newspaper in a column marked for its unforgiving appraisal of Lazio's play. After the loss to Parma, this Monday's column was no exception.
I thought it was a disaster really, because compared to the Sunday before with Genoa, the team rallied back from a 2-goal deficit. I saw there was a spirit and there was a teamwork and there was wanted to make the result. Against Parma, if Parma would have won 5-1, there would have been no the same thing.
A long way from the beauty of those riverside surroundings at the Circolo Canottieri is Lazio's training ground, Campo Maestrelli at Tor de Quinto. Inside the ground, there's an air of concentration as the team attempts to work out what went wrong against Parma in time to put it right for Milan.
Ja, ich habe schon gesagt, also die ersten 15 Minuten hat Parma sehr, sehr gut gespielt und ich glaube, da haben wir eigentlich das Spiel aus der Hand gegeben. Dann die übrige Zeit haben wir das Spiel bestimmt und sind dann eigentlich nach vorne gelaufen und haben viele, viele Konter gefangen. Einen Spieler haben wir noch verloren, mussten wir mit 10 gegen 11 spielen und ich glaube, das ist sehr, sehr schwer gegen eine Mannschaft wie Parma dann noch zu gewinnen.
The loss against Parma has dropped Lazio down to 4th place in Serie A massive 14 points off AC Milan. It's the latest in a series of surprising defeats that's left the word inconsistent writ large across their season. They still have the number 2 attack in the league. The number 1, of course, is owned by AC Milan. But the defence remains vulnerable despite £13.5 million spent on it last summer.
Ma direi che abbiamo fatto tanti gol, quindi abbiamo molta qualità in avanti. Però questa è supportata sia dal centrocampo che dalla difesa. Ecco, direi che diciamo abbiamo 3 reparti buoni tutti e 3, solamente che 2 reparti aiutano uno e uno non aiuta gli altri 2, che l'attacco aiuta poco centrocampo e difesa.
Questa è una cosa che potete cambiare?
Dovremmo pian piano dobbiamo cambiare.
Ever since Paul Gascoigne's arrival at Lazio, everyone from the club president Sergio Cragnotti downwards has compared him to Giorgio Chinaglia. For them, he'll take over from Chinaglia as the next great symbol of the Lazio team. So how does the only man to have led Lazio to a national championship feel about Paul's progress so far?
I think that it was a miracle that this year he's playing, because after the injury he had, and I think what he's doing is more than I expected him to do. I think that next year you're going to see the real Gascoigne, the player that can make the difference as far as the team is concerned.
Well, after missing the defeat against Parma through suspension, Paul will be back with the squad for this next match, with a lot still to prove. In the first game, Gascoigne wasn't ready for the test of Milan. He failed to make an impression, and despite fighting hard, Lazio went down 5-3. They made things difficult for Milan, though. A couple of weeks ago on this show, Milan coach Fabio Capello told us that Lazio rated as Milan's toughest opponents so far this season.
We lost 5 against 3, but we make a lot of mistakes behind, where Milan have scored 4 goals. But when we didn't make those mistakes, Milan had to be much difficult against us.
Abbiamo concesso moltissimi spazi a loro, come loro di conseguenza ne concedevano a noi, però anche a San Siro un 5-3 esaltante sotto il profilo dello spettacolo. Poi si sa, nel calcio è più importante chi mette più palle dentro la porta, no?
Gregucci probably still has nightmares about that game at the San Siro. His marking against Van Basten was so ineffective that Zoff had to bring him off. Gregucci will get a second chance though tomorrow because of the absences of Bonomi and particularly Luzzardi, whose suspension will hit Lazio hard. Along with the goalkeeper Orsi, Luzzardi has been one of the few positive elements of Lazio's defence so far this season. Karl-Heinz Riedler will also be in the stands tomorrow after his yellow card versus Parma, meaning Thomas Doll will have to repeat an experiment that so far failed to convince, moving forward from the midfield to striker.
Half the problem for Lazio is AS Roma, their arch rivals. Not only has the other club crept up to just 3 points away from Lazio, but on Wednesday night they went and beat the unbeatable Milan 2-0. Now this effectively removes all excuses from Lazio. Previously a defeat by Milan on Sunday would have been seen as inevitable perhaps by fans, but now with the Roma tifosi celebrating all over town, the Lazio fans are demanding a victory of their own.
Dobbiamo vincere per forza, già vinta Roma, vinciamo noi.
Per forza, per forza. Altrimenti andiamo a finire sotto, ci mettono sotto un'altra volta la Roma. Ricadiamo un'altra volta come gli altri anni. Iniziamo bene, poi il secondo quadrimestre praticamente sottoterra. Speriamo di no, eh?
Sì, però la Roma è più forte della Lazio. Secondo me non ce la fa a battere la Lazio domenica, a battere Milan la Lazio domenica.
No?
No, perché la Roma ha battuto ha fatto un gioco che la Lazio non lo può fare.
Ieri la Roma ha fatto una partita bellissima e speriamo che la Lazio ne faccia altrettanto.
E se no?
Altrimenti chi sente questi da Roma?
Everyone, like they said, it's people were never thinking Milan were never going to get beat, you know. They've won every game they played in, and Roma done them. And now it's not just pressure to beat Milan, but it's pressure also to beat them because of Roma winning them, you know, because the fans are going to be talking about it. They were this morning, you know, saying, oh, Roma beat them, right? We've got to beat them, you know. So the pressure's starting already, you know.
No one expects it to be easy for Lazio tomorrow, but two advantages they do have are playing at home at the Stadio Olimpico and the absences in Milan's roster.
Milan's injury list is now a lengthy one, and it's filled with illustrious names such as Van Basten, Donadoni, right guard Antonioli, and probably on Sunday also Rossi and Hullet. There's no doubt the wear and tear is having an effect even on a roster as big as Milan's, and certainly the absence of Tossotti should leave Lazio a bit freer to add to their goals total so far this season. They're counting on the speed of Signori and Doll to take advantage of a defensive grouping that'll be playing on Sunday its 6th game in 19 days.
Ich glaube, das Einzige, was wir einsetzen können, ist, glaube ich, unsere Stärken, die wir sicherlich im Angriffsspiel haben. Und wichtig ist, dass wir nicht ins offene Messer laufen gegen Mailand, dass wir die Mailänder warten sehr, sehr auf Content. Und ich glaube, durch unser überraschendes Spiel, was wir auch oft bewiesen haben zu Hause, sicherlich auch durch die Schnelligkeit, auch von hinten raus, auf den Außenpositionen.
Well, Lazio must not, tactically wise, should not try to beat them on the flanks. You know, they have to use the speed of Signori and Doll up front, and hopefully that Gascoigne is in a good day.
Quando tu giochi contro queste grandi squadre come Milan, così gli stimoli vengono da soli. Domenica appena entri in campo e vedi tutto lo stadio pieno, ti viene subito la voglia di giocare.
Everything looks set for a record crowd here at the Stadio Olimpico. 25,000 tickets were sold in just the first few hours after they went on sale, and the rest have now all been snapped up in the new mood of hope and expectation that's followed Roma's win here on Wednesday night. There are millions left in this city that won't have a chance to see the game live, but through the strange quirk of fate that is Football Italia, you in England will. It's live tomorrow, Channel 4, Lazio Milan.